Toast.
What's up, man?
Toast. We are at DreamHack, Montreal, WCS for StarCraft. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. How about you?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm pretty happy today. I'm getting a lot done, so that feels pretty good.
It's good. It's good to be able to get some stuff done, be productive.
Absolutely.
It's important.
Are you, like, how much content are you pumping out this weekend? Do you have any goals in mind for, like, time that you want to have in video form or anything like that?
Not really. Like, one thing you kind of learn is, like, you just kind of got to take what's available, and, like, you can't, like, it sounds weird, but you really can't do that much planning ahead because you have no idea, like, what's gonna happen, right? Like, you could want to interview someone, and they could have just lost, and then it's like they kind of just turn you down, and it's like, oh, well, that kind of put a damper on, like, what I wanted to do, right? Or if you don't talk to them soon enough, it may eliminate some of the questions you've had. So you kind of just have to take it as it goes. So, like, as far as expectations, it's like, nope. What gets done is what gets done.
I had messaged a bunch of people on the Thursday on Twitter, and I've been like, yo, I'm going to be here all weekend. If you want to do an interview, that'd be great. And pretty much all of them are like, yeah. But day two though. And then a bunch of them today are like, nah, day three though, day three.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't predict, right?
Yeah, a lot of them like to put it off. I mean, a lot of them are nice, and some of them just don't really want to do it, you know? And so they kind of push you away. But again, those are the ones you just kind of learn to, like, well, they're just not going to be on my list for next time.
Oh no, fuck that. I'm hounding them forever. I'm tracking them all the way back home.
Well, you do you.
So let's talk a little bit about what you've got on the go, because you've got on the go a heck of a lot in recent months, it seems. You are Toast from DankShrine, the DankShrine show. You've had Toast Talks in the past, kind of on hiatus, I guess. You've got the OSC show now. What's the OSC called?
The show? What's it called? It's just called, like, OSC News and Highlights. Yeah, it doesn't really have like a name, I guess.
And then, like, going along with that, like, you're affiliated with Sloth, 1F Pro, Psystorm. Have you overloaded your plate, Toast?
Now I'm always looking for, like, more opportunity and to doing more. So yeah, like right now, like I'm partnered with Sloth Esports and 1F Pro for DankShrine, and then I work contractually with Psystorm Gaming as well as the new OSC Elite team. I wouldn't say I'm overloaded. It's just a lot to manage, really. It's more about time management than anything else.
So I don't know if there's anyone else. I don't think so. But I think you're probably the youngest gun in terms of entry into StarCraft 2 esports content. You entered in, like, July, August 2016, right? Yeah. So what's it been like for you trying to work your way up through the scene? What kind of challenges have you faced with the show and the transition areas of the show and everything like that?
I mean, it's, you know, you have to take your criticism where you can, right? You need to ask for a lot of feedback. Don't take anything too seriously. Take it with a grain of salt. You know, don't listen to the haters. Listen to the people that are actually trying to help you. Never turn down an opportunity like that, right? Like, if someone's got something for you, you know, never turn that down. And always be moving forward. Always be thinking ahead and planning for the future. You know, it's never too early to have, you know, big plans and big expectations, and then just line up your smaller goals to hit them as you go. You know, other than that, the only really hard thing for me was like finding the time, and then finding people that are like have like the passion to want to do what I'm doing, right? So, like, obviously I've had like a transition in in partners, you know, going from Zilly, who was great but just didn't want to do it as seriously as I did, to now to doing it with Seeker, who our goals are a little more aligned. Other than that, it's been pretty easy. Again, time is a big factor, right? Because I work full time, and it basically feels like I have two full-time jobs, one in my regular work and then the second in esports. So, but, you know, if the transition can be made to go full-time esports and support myself, then, you know, I'll definitely go down that road if it comes.
Initially, DankShrine started out as a talk show, then you kind of transitioned into the interview stuff. Toast Talks existed, and then it kind of went on hiatus and everything like that. The OSC show is, as I understand it, that's a kind of a talk show, right?
Yeah. Oh, so the OSC show is like it's like a highlight of just OSC stuff. So we talk to like we talk about like the rising player of the month and honor them, and then who our breakout player of the month is, which is like voted on like by the OSC community, which is cool. Then we just kind of talk about like all the projects they have going on, because OSC is actually huge. They have like a lot of stuff, and they sponsor like a lot of different tournaments, like with OSC points and everything. So it's just to kind of honor those that take the time to compete in that, and to find out the news about it, right? Like what tournaments are coming up, what's the bigger stuff that's happening with it.
Kind of like a talk show.
Yeah, but like I said, it's
centered talk show.
Only focus about OSC, but then also about OSC Elite and their recent accomplishments as well.
Where I was going with that, though, like it just seems like you're always coming back to the talk shows and then kind of straying away again, you know? Is having a dedicated, like, week-to-week talk show general, and you're on Filthy Casuals, too, that's a talk show.
Yep.
Is having that dedicated week-to-week talk show, open forum kind of thing something that's important to you, and you just kind of keep slipping away from it?
I mean, it's like a growing thing, right? Like with the transition from Zilly to Seeker, we became more Korean-eccentric because of Seeker's ability, obviously, to translate. And then the show became much less talk show format because it took twice as long to translate everything. So really all we had time for was like our interview portion, because that was actually just a portion of the original show, was to interview our guests and then talk about news with them and get their opinions on it. And it has just slowly changed, but it's kind of coming back around to that, where it's kind of changing back into like the more talk show format, and like having like interviewing the guests and then also just bringing up stuff. So it's kind of switching back. Like Toast Talks probably won't ever come back, but DankShrine will kind of like absorb it, and it'll kind of be a little more mix of the both.
It breaks my heart to hear you say that, because I fucking love Toast Talks. It was my favorite thing. Toast.
Like I said, it's not that it'll go away, but like DankShrine will just like absorb it. So there may just become a point in time where we have those types of roundtable discussions again, but that will just be like the specific episode, like when major things happen. Like when this new balance patch comes out, it'll definitely be like one of the topics that we can definitely talk about and have multiple people talk about, or any other drama that will inevitably occur.
So this is DreamHack Montreal, but you've attended a number of the North American lands, or the American lands, I guess I'd say specifically. I believe this is your first one outside of America, right? Yeah?
Yeah, out of the U.S. Yeah, out of the U.S., this is the first one, international event that I've attended.
So what's it been like for you to attend these events and go through the learning process of what it's like to navigate, what it's like to talk to people for interviews live in face-to-face situations, and did you have any experience with events before?
So I attended MLG 2012, but that was just as like a casual fan. Obviously, that had nothing to do with it. So I had been to like one event prior. Going to Austin this year was a little bit of a culture shock almost, because it's like, hey, I'm having opportunities to talk to some of these players that I've never talked to before, which was a really cool experience, and it's something that's like, whoa. Like, I never thought I would have the opportunity to do this, and I do. So I didn't actually get a lot done in Austin, unfortunately, but it was a good learning experience, and I've definitely made up for that, here. So, as far as like navigating and stuff, like talking to people, like it kind of just comes naturally. Like I'm pretty chatty in general, and I'm not really afraid to talk to anyone. I can always find some common ground, or become pretty good friends with anyone pretty quickly. So I've got, I think I have a natural interviewing ability.
What kind of prep work do you do for an event like this, and how does it differ from the kind of prep work that you do for a regular episode of the DankShrine on any given week?
So this sounds bad, but really and truly and honestly, I thrive on improv. I have a plan, and rarely do I follow it. Like I literally like have like written stuff out, and by the time the event starts, it's like out the window. I'm flying by the seat of my pants, but I make it work, and that's really where I thrive, is like in the heat of the moment, and just like thinking on my feet and being able to react. With the show, I have a little more time to like come up with like certain things. It depends on the guest, like how familiar I am with them. Obviously, like I watch everything, so it's not like it's like a lack of knowledge, and I can always come up with something. But sometimes you just, something happens in the moment, and it's like, you know what, I'd rather go with that than what I had planned. And I think that's really what separates like an average interviewer to, an above level one, is to be able to think on your feet and come up with interesting things like in that moment.
So to like is that a universal then for you? Like, is that the way that you handle the DankShrine streams and the events?
Like to improvise?
Well, yeah. I mean, the root of the question is like the different style of content and how one could differently prepare for those two things, right? Like, do you do anything different for a DreamHack as opposed to when you are interviewing somebody over the internet?
Well, so I like to write down like their most recent accomplishments. Depending on like groups and stuff, like I said, I like to write down like records, like all right, who have they played like recently, like what is their like Gilak rating like per like race distribution and stuff like that. I just like to become like when it comes to like the player themselves, I like to be very knowledgeable. But when it comes to the questions, it's like I said, that's more like where the improv comes in. Like I study up on like who like I'm going to do them with, but it's not just like what I'm going to ask them necessarily. And for the show, it's more just like about the questions than about the person. But again, it kind of just depends on who it is. Like if it's a Korean player, then I need to do a little more research usually. If it's an NA player, it's like I usually have a pretty good idea of who they are and I've met them before, and I have a good relationship with them already.
You also have Young Volts with just the Y. Young Volts, DankShrine Pro, right? DankShrine Pro, yeah. So how did that come to pass? And I remember asking you about this at the time, right? You are sponsored by these teams for DankShrine. What kind of process was it getting the go-ahead from your sponsors to do this kind of thing in the first place?
It was pretty easy. Stefan and KJ both were pretty much just like, yeah, like if it's something you want to do, like go for it. Like we don't have any problem with it. It's not really like a conflict of interest or an interference with like what we're trying to do because we all have like great relationships with each other. And they realized that I'm just like looking to further help the North American scene by supporting just another player. So really, they were really cool with it. It was really pretty easy. It's not like a real team, obviously. It's more like I'm just helping out one person, and that's kind of how it's going to stay. It's not really going to expand to anything, but I like the opportunity to help the scene by just giving back any way that I can.
So, how is Volts doing? Like, is he meeting your expectations? What kind of expectations did Volts have for himself in this year after you picked him up?
So his biggest expectations were to qualify for some of these offline events like Austin and Montreal. He came pretty close in Montreal. Unfortunately, like he lost a Star Killer, and he was actually hiding builds because he didn't want to do like the strategies he had been practicing. We kind of talked about it. It was a difference of opinion, and ultimately, like I give him the go-ahead since he's the player, So, but he was disappointed, that he didn't qualify, and I think it was a learning experience for him. And I think moving forward, he'll have a better opportunity, for the coming year. And yeah, he'll keep practicing. As far as my expectations, are pretty minimal. I just expect him to play in things. He doesn't stream, which is fine. I don't really mind that. It's just like I said, it's pretty much just whatever he wants to do, and I'm okay with. And really the only thing he really needed to change was like his BM. He's known for being a super BM player, and it's actually turned off a couple people like into helping him. But pretty much all I told him was like, look man, like I know, Idris kind of like your idol, but Idris could kind of back it up, right? Like he had the skills to back it up. And I'm like, for you, like I don't mind if you BM, I just don't want you to start it. Like if someone BMs you, then you have, my absolute blessing to go ahead and dish it right back. But I don't want you to, be the initiator.
Interesting. You mentioned him hiding his builds and talking to you about that. For Volts, are you playing the kind of role of a coach in any way, shape, or form? Like what kind of relationship do you have with his play?
So obviously I watch everything that he's in, and I might talk to him and ask him about it. And I do set up like training for him sometimes. Like I'll get in contact with different players if he wants to do some practice matches. I'll find someone that's willing to play with him and do some practice matches. Other than that, it's not a whole lot. Like I don't play Zerg. He plays obviously like at a lot higher level than I do when it comes to that. So not a whole lot. If I see something specific, I might make a mention of it. Or if I'm familiar with who he's playing, I'm like, hey, like just FYI, whenever I see this guy versus Zerg, like I always see him do this. It's something you should probably look out for if you didn't know that already. Which most of the time he does. So I'm usually just talking to myself when it comes to that type of thing. But I think he appreciates the fact that he knows that I'm making an effort to be there for him. and actually paying attention. So I think he appreciates that portion of it.
Yesterday, I mean, to be honest, I haven't seen you a whole lot during this whole event. But yesterday, ran into you towards the closing hours. We talked a little bit. You were pretty tired. You were feeling pretty down. You told me, I don't know that I'm going to keep doing interviews. And maybe that's it for that kind of thing, that kind of content with myself. How are you feeling about that today? And what was it that put you at that point?
I mean, it's just frustrating sometimes when, obviously, you can't force the players to do anything. But it's also the fact that, I don't think our community really appreciates, what we do and some of the work that we put in for this stuff. And if they're not going to watch it, then I don't think it's really worth making. There's other stuff that I could be doing if, it's not the content that people want to see. So really, it's on, our viewers and our followers. It's if this is something that they like, they should really let us know if they want it to continue. Otherwise, if we're not going to do it, then no one's going to do it.
Do you think that in talking about viewership, how important is the viewership to you? If you produce a piece that's really satisfying as you're doing it, will that satisfaction be seriously impacted by viewership if it doesn't meet your goals for the viewership?
I mean, it kind of depends. It's frustrating when you put a lot of hard work and effort into something and that there's, almost no one sees it. At the same time, it's not like it's about the money or anything. That has nothing to do with it. It's the appreciation of your work, right? You take the time and effort into doing these kind of things, right? And I do it because I enjoy it. I enjoy talking to the players, but I could just as easily not record it and still have great conversations and then just walk away, right? But the whole point of these is to share it with the rest of the world and and kind of show some of these players in a different light. Kind of expose some different things and get, let you as the fans, get to know them a little bit better.
What kind of concrete expectations do you have at any given day for any given piece? Give us an idea of what is satisfying levels of viewership for you.
I mean, I don't really even know, right? But there's just some things that you put out and it did get zero views. Obviously, when we did the innovation interview, that was super hype. No one had really done an English to Korean interview with him like that, and especially in our format. And so it was super hyped up. We had I think something 300 viewers live, and then with hosts it went up to 500. It was obviously the biggest show we've ever had, And then from there, the numbers have slowly dwindled down. On a given day, and obviously it's very guest dependent, right? Because if it's not someone that people find interesting, they're not going to tune in. Which I understand, but it just seems even when I get a good guest now, it seems people aren't tuning in because it's I see in the show I don't really need to watch it, and so it's a little disheartening, a little bit, like you said, but I don't have anything concrete. And it's not so much that I don't want to do it, that I'm going to stop doing any esports work, but it's I'll just focus that time into other things if this isn't what people want. You know what I mean? If I feel that I'm doing something else that I can better, use my time towards, a different project, then I'd rather do that.
So are you still seriously thinking about not doing the interviews anymore?
I mean, we'll see. It depends on how they're receptive and if people are enjoying them. I mean, like I said, if people aren't enjoying them, then speak up. Or if you are, speak up because it helps to know that people are enjoying them or appreciate the fact that you're doing them. So, but yeah, I don't know. We'll just have to see. It's one of those things I can't really say right now whether or not it's gonna stop or not.
You recently hit your 1 year entry point. Like I said earlier, right? You started 2016,
yeah.
Summer 2016. I won't pretend to know the exact time.
It was around August, I believe.
Oh, cool. So we're right there, actually. Yeah. This is September 8th, September 9th? The 9th. This is the 9th. So we're right on top of that. So in the last year then, if you could go back and do it again, would you do anything differently? And what would you change?
Yeah, there were certain things that I would definitely change. I would change a couple early business decisions that I had made. And who I was talking to and trying to do business with, right? Obviously hindsight's 2020. But there's definitely some people I wouldn't have wasted my time with when it came to certain things, and other people I would have more rather have aggressively pursued. But as far as that, doing anything else, no, I really wouldn't change anything. I would have I'm still happy with everything that I did and all the events that I went to, and I'm happy with everything that I've put out. You know, I don't really regret anything that I've said. I pretty much I'll stand by anything that I've said. You know, I'll debate it. I might be wrong, but I'll stand by the fact that, you know, I said it. But I might be wrong, but I'll stand by that fact. You know, and if you can prove me wrong, then, you know, then I'll admit it.
Okay, as long as you admit it. You're saying, you know, I might be wrong, but I'll stand by it.
Yeah, well,
okay.
I'm not saying that I'm always right. I'm just saying that if I am wrong, I'm willing to admit that I am wrong. But I will never say oh, I never said that if I said that.
Gotcha. So just to wrap up here, I want to give you some personal thanks because you helped to get me here with the Zombie Grub Initiative, I guess we'll call it.
Yeah, it was more Jessica than anything. We talked about it in Atlanta, and she's like, you know, hey, he's a really nice guy, you know, and I want to help him out. You know, he's really doing a lot of content for the community. I think it would be great, you know, if he has this opportunity because, you know, unfortunately, you know, he hasn't been able to travel. So, you know, would you be willing to help? And I was like, yeah, of course. It's, you know, I was in the same boat at one point in time, and, you know, I was helped, you know, by the community. So it's like, yeah, I would love, you know, to give you the same opportunities.
Yeah, I mean, if you're okay with me leaving this in, thank you so much for being a part of that. It really means the world to me. And don't stop interviewing. Don't stop interviewing. You know, it's good shit. It's good shit.
Yeah, we'll see. Like I said, I don't think I'll ever quit StarCraft fully, but we'll just see. I mean, the content might just change. You know, instead of interviews, I might just do something else here. But that doesn't mean I'll stop making content.
Cool. Well, thanks so much, dude. I hope you enjoy the rest of the weekend, and you know, I mean, we'll be hanging out.
Yeah, sounds good, man. Take care.